All right. Good evening and welcome to episode 44 of Dads and Ed. If I had actually seen Star Wars The Force Awakens, maybe I would have cooked up some opening credits similar to that, since we did title this The Dads Awaken. Um, I apologize. So if you follow our Twitter account, at Dads and Ed, you saw that our creative team whipped up a movie poster for this, but obviously that movie poster and a movie idea didn't carry over to the actual show. So maybe we'll throw them a few more, well, I don't want to say a few more dollars. We'll exponentially increase their current salary because everything times zero is zero, as we all know, and work on that for next time. I am Josh Allen, Tech Integration Specialist for Lewis Central outside of Omaha in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Three wonderful kids and a beautiful wife who is making an oatmeal bake at this moment. She is cutting it. It just came out of the oven. And I will carry on with that play-by-play here in just a second. But for now, I will kick it over to the fourth member of Dads and Ed.
Okay, I did watch the Star Wars movie with my dad and my sister. This is my dad. You are a K-12 instructional technology coach.
It's getting better.
Ding.
You're getting closer and closer to getting that right every time.
Okay,
Anything else you want to add to this?
I have a sister and two dogs and a mom.
And no longer the bird.
And no longer the bird.
Oh,
The bird has been eliminated.
Has been
Merry
and
Christmas!
I did watch Star Wars the Force. Well, I already did.
So the bird is no longer with us. He's not dead. He's been adopted by another family, who can hopefully give him the appropriate amount of attention that a bird needs. My one piece of pet advice to everyone out there, this is a good parenting thing. When your child asks for a bird, just say no. Stay strong and just say no, because
my
birds
God.
are terrible.
Yes, they are.
Whew. Devin Schoening. I'm in Council Bluffs, Iowa. I do something with teaching and with technology. Claire knows the title about as well as I do. My wonderful wife Erin is here somewhere, roaming around. Gracie, my oldest daughter, is probably upstairs in her room, which is what preteens do, I believe. They just hang out in their rooms by themselves and don't ever come down and talk to their parents anymore. And you might hear the two dogs walking around, but you will never hear the bird again.
Hear you.
Kudos for the Star Wars introduction as well. So
Thanks.
thanks for picking us up, Devin. Brent.
Yeah, Brent here from Kansas City, Mo area, Director of Technology. Married to the lovely Josie, 5 children, ages 9 to 11 months now, almost a year old. And just living the dream, man. Excited for tonight, some big announcements, and the lineup for 2016 is looking awesome. So excited to get started.
Absolutely. As Brent alluded to, we have a fantastic lineup ready to kick off the spring of 2016. Some names you heard of, some names hopefully we'll be introducing you to. But all in all, I know when we have a Voxer group between the three of us where we all kind of reach out to people that we know and inquire about dates with all of them. And a couple times a day, I got pretty excited with some of the names that we got added. So it's going to be a fantastic spring, and we look forward to having you all here. If you want a sneak peek of that, you can actually go to our Google Plus page, and I think you'd be able to see all of the upcoming events. We have a lot of them listed there already with dates and times. That is on Google Plus. We are Plus Dads and Ed. You can also connect with us on Twitter at Dads and Ed. You can follow the hashtag Dads and Ed. And if you miss any of this, you can always subscribe dadsanded.podbean.com or subscribe in iTunes by searching Dads and Ed. We don't have a guest tonight because we are just kind of getting back into the swing of things, and we have like Brent teased earlier, we have a big announcement later this evening, but we do want to do a couple water cooler issues. Those of us in the education world lost a good friend over the actually last week, Joe Bauer, who is really, if you search, you know, any number of education leaders, you know, that either we've had on the show or some that we haven't, are kind of giving their condolences, I guess, online. Joe had a heart attack on Friday, I believe, and passed away yesterday. Um, Joe was what you hear a lot is people talking about how Joe always put the student first and was never okay with just a traditional school setting just because. And in one of the Voxer groups that we were talking about this morning, you know, someone said he didn't want school to suck for kids. And we've talked about homework here in the past on this show, and Joe was a name that I got from multiple people to go check out for his work on homework. You know, Joe turned 37 a couple weeks ago, which I know you guys are both past that, and I will be getting to 37 in March. So it has definitely hit home for me as an educator and a dad, and we just wanted to, you know, send our thoughts and prayers out to his family. Anything else that you guys want to add in there?
Yeah, you know, the thing I want to add, I guess, is that, you know, I had never met Joe. Had certainly paid attention to some of the things he had shared on Twitter and on his blog. But what I was thinking is, you know, this is one of those times where, as tragic as the situation is, you know, without the connections that are made via tools, social media tools like Twitters and Facebooks and Instagrams and all this, you know, I would have never known who Joe Bauer is. You know, wouldn't have had any insights from him, wouldn't have learned with and from a guy like that. And I think it does speak to the power of those connections that are made and just how visceral some of them were. So, you know, you have people that have been sharing all kinds of things about Joe online, and you know, I would say a lot of those people maybe have never met him. But you do end up with those very visceral reactions to people that you come to know. You know, I can think of a whole bunch of people right now that if that were to happen, even people I've never met, it would be a deep blow. You know, to me personally, even though I've never met them, and I think that can all be attributed to this idea that we can be connected, and I think it's a powerful example of how these connections aren't just these kind of fake things that are happening online. They're real relationships, real connections, real people. And so that's one thing I kind of was really taking away from that, aside from the tragedy that is his passing, but just this idea that we really do live and kind of work in a space that is pretty amazing and gives us opportunities to get to know people in a way that we never could before.
Yeah, Devin, you know, there's a great video I've shared before called social media and ambient intimacy, around the idea of that it's not, you know, that it is real, right? That there's this connection that you can make. And I never met Joe, but he was one of the original people I followed on Twitter. And I think that came through Chris Weird for me, who I've tried getting on the show. He's a Canadian principal who knew Joe very well. And that's kind of how I found out, originally on Facebook through Chris's post. And then I just kind of waited for Chris, because Chris was posting about, you know, he was in touch with his family, and I started searching the Twitter. I just did his you know, and like you said, Devin, a lot of people talking, a lot of people throwing out there, you know, sorry for, and I don't technically think he had passed yet, which was kind of interesting, but I'm sure it sounded very grim, and we kind of knew that was coming. But anyway, so yeah, I agree with you 100%. Well said. I had a chance, because I was searching through, to listen to a keynote he gave at some conference up in Canada of some kind, and it was kind of a synopsis of all the things that he was passionate about. It was really interesting, and so I'm glad I had that opportunity to kind of sit and listen to that, because certainly followed him, respected his work. I mean, there's individuals out there for me in the game, as I call it, that I really respect and have a great, you know, I'm like, God, wish I could be like that, or I wish I could be that adamant. And Devin, I wanted to bring up too. You had the post there on Instagram and Facebook about the New York Faces thing, um, and us doing a job on this show of kind of telling stories. We got kind of talking about that a little bit, and I think that's true of something like this, or just in general, the people out there in their stories. And Joe has a heck of a story, and it is humbling at 37, and I'm sitting here at 40. That God, tomorrow could be the day. And seemingly he wasn't an overweight man. He wasn't, and the next thing you know, it's all gone. And his poor kids, his wife, his family. I can't fathom that right now. For like if I was to die tomorrow, what that would be like for my wife and for the kids.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those times that causes, I think, all of us to evaluate our own life, both at home, like you said, Brent, and also what we do at work. What kind of Amanda Dykes, who was on the show in November, posted something somewhere, I don't remember now, but just about the legacy that you're leaving. What are people? We look at all these things that Joe's saying, or that people are saying about Joe, after he passed. Well, what would people say about us? Are we leaving a legacy that someone's going to carry it on? After we leave, and because like you said, Brent, you never know what day it's going to be, and
I commented.
Lord willing, it'll be a long time, but you never know.
Yeah, and I commented on Amanda's post about that and I wrote very briefly a blog post, partially inspired by George Kiros's book that I read, Innovator's Mindset, and I just have always struggled with like really truly writing what's on my mind because of fear of maybe the leaders I worked with or the folks that I might kind of upset, I guess. And it seemed as if Joe just said what he wanted to say and did his thing. And I have so much respect for that because I feel like I've never been able to do that as publicly as I wish I could. And I don't know, I'm working my way towards certain goals and aspirations, and I hope I can get there someday. But like, gosh, right now I just don't feel like, I don't know. So yeah, it's definitely it has me questioning those sorts of things for sure. Like I said, what kind of legacy are you leaving versus, the opposite of just I'm here doing my thing.
And I think the legacy thing again plays into this idea that living in and working in this environment, with these spaces available, really does allow for a legacy to be left. I think about the work that Joe did, or that lots of people are doing. Without these connections, without ways of sharing, without the willingness to share, I know, a friend of the show, Dean Sharesky, talks about that moral imperative to share. Without these spaces to do that, though, the legacy might be left in your kind of little sphere that you live in. Maybe within your community, or maybe even within your state, if you're in the United States, but not to the level that you see with something like this, where you have a person who was a prolific blogger, was somebody whose thoughts were valued by lots of people, and that just doesn't happen if you don't have these spaces. And I think that's a good thing. That's one of those things that people talk about, the negatives of things like Facebook and Twitter, and the amplification of bad ideas and the spreading of negative kinds of things. This is the antithesis of that. I mean, this is the spreading of really great things, and Joe does it, and many other people do it too. And I just think we're lucky. We're lucky to be able to have those things. We're lucky to have, at this point in time, Joe's blog to go back to if you want to go back and read some of those things. That's not the way it was not that long ago. If somebody were to do really great things in their school, in their district, in their city, you didn't know those things. I mean, I wouldn't have had any idea what Joe Bauer was doing, just like I probably wouldn't have any idea what either of you were doing, and we, for a long time, didn't live that far away from each other. So I just think that it amplifies that idea that this is a really amazing time and space that we live in because of that connections, if we are careful to foster those relationships and appreciate and value those spaces. So.
Yep. Very well put. Like we said, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and his school family too, because I'm sure the school that he is in is obviously very affected by that, and um, hopefully they can work through that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
as I mentioned to the guys before, there is no easy way to transition out of that, but we do want to touch on the lighter note of football, which is one of our favorite topics around here, along with a lot of other sports. The college bowl season wrapped up. Happy to say that Nebraska actually won a game, so we didn't lose 8 in a year, um, which which I thought was interesting. Did you guys see all of the 5 and 7 teams that made it to into a bowl won their games? They all ended up 6 and 8.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Great stuff, huh?
Interesting.
And I know I saw today Nebraska UCLA was the second highest rated show for the week of December 21st to the 27th on ESPN. The only other uh, show that got a higher viewership was their Monday night game. So
You've been doing your homework. You've
something
Yeah.
like that.
like looked some things up. My contribution to this whole discussion about football was
Yep.
going to be that I think I've watched Star Wars more times over break than I watched number of football games.
Nice.
The overall bowl ratings are definitely down,
Yeah,
and
that's
it'll be really interesting to see because some people would like to say that it's because they were on New Year's Eve. Some people will point out that a lot of people are at, we'll just say, adult establishments on New Year's Eve, and so let's say there's 300 people at a bar, that only counts for one viewer.
Yeah.
So because it's New Year's Eve, you don't know how many people are actually watching, or is it just because the games have been terrible? I mean, outside of Nebraska's game was close, but it's also the Foster Farms Bowl. I can't even say it. It's not exactly a marquee matchup, especially when you're 5 and 7. But outside of the Alamo Bowl on Saturday night between TCU and Oregon, really none of the games have been close. I mean, especially in the marquee games. So it'll be interesting to see next year. I don't believe next year they're on New Year's Eve. I think it's on New Year's Day. But the Rose Bowl will not give up their New Year's Day spot,
Right.
which is why if they're not in the rotation, then the games get pushed to New Year's Eve. So
Interesting.
I've been doing homework, guys.
You really have.
It's 2016. I mean, I'm not. I create. I create. I contribute very little to this show, so I got to do something.
Yeah. Stats guy's working hard. We got the graphics guy working hard.
Yeah, but what do you bring
What are
to
you
the
doing,
table?
Brett?
Well, last year I did a lot of lining up of guests just for the graphics, which now you guys are doing. So I'm just loving life, man.
Living in the past.
2 weeks.
Living in the past. You're like a Nebraska fan, football fan.
Yeah. Well,
True story. So we have Alabama Clemson next week for the championship. Who you guys got?
boy, is Alabama? Like I say, I'm with Devin. I haven't honestly watched a lot of football. I really unplugged from a lot of things over the break, which was wonderful. But Alabama, from what I saw, just annihilated Michigan State, and I kind of have a feeling they're going to beat up on Clemson too. As much as Clemson has a great team, I think I just don't know if they're. Alabama just seems to really play well under pressure, so I got a feeling they roll pretty easily.
Yeah, I do too. I was listening to that on the radio a little bit as I was between places today. That talking about Clemson being 14-0 and just coming off a beating of Oklahoma, and they're still a 7 or 8 point underdog to Alabama, who has a loss. Who maybe even though they're good, you wouldn't expect the undefeated team that just pummeled the team Oklahoma that people thought was playing maybe the best coming into the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, I think Alabama probably rolls too, unfortunately.
Bill Little, even a blind scroll. I think it's supposed to be finds the nut, but he's tried to tweet twice and he still can't get it right. Bill, I'll cut you some slack because I'm going to drop some more knowledge on you. Last year, Ohio State, Oregon. Do you know who had more practice time leading up to the national championship game? Ohio State.
Ohio
You
State?
know why?
Why?
Because they didn't have class. When you're not in class, you're not restricted by the hours of practice you can have.
Hmm.
Guess who doesn't start class till January 13th?
Clemson.
Alabama.
Oh.
Clemson starts Wednesday.
Hmm.
I predict Alabama rolls next week. I also think, you guys mentioned Alabama's used to being there. This is not a new phenomenon for them. And, as far as Clemson's come, I think that the stage gets a little bit bigger when you get to play an extra game.
And
Well,
Josh, in all honesty, I was giving you a hard time. That's a wonderfully obscure statistic. That's well done.
Yeah, I try every
Well
now and then.
I got nothing. I got nothing for it.
Oh, NFL predictions. Who you got for the Super Bowl?
Uh, what's the NFL?
It's the No Fun League.
No fun league. That's the one.
the Kansas City Chiefs,
Okay.
which it's not happening.
Honestly, that would be great. I'd be all for the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl.
No, they're hot. They've
They
won
have
10 in a
won
row.
10 in a row.
Yeah. No, they're hot. We'll see. You never know. They said
Oh.
Pittsburgh Steelers, you wouldn't want to face them. Carolina's hot.
Let's go with the Chiefs and the Panthers for the lowest rated Super Bowl in the history of the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mr. Kansas City, when was the last time the Royals and the Chiefs were in the playoffs together?
I should know this because I've seen about 100 memes on this. There's some stat I've seen on some memes where since the Royals won in November the series, the Chiefs have been undefeated or something. There's all this stuff flying around, but so I think it's the first time in a long time. I know I should know this, but did I mention I unplugged over the break? My stat work is a little off tonight.
Last time the Chiefs and the Royals were in the playoffs together was never.
That's what I was thinking.
Never
I
happened.
was thinking about saying that, but I didn't want to be wrong. So I'm my strategy.
Tricky.
I
Gotta watch Josh tonight. Tricky.
never know. I got all kinds of things. I've been writing stuff down over the last couple of weeks so that I could have some content. You will not see this the rest of the year. I am dumping it all out right now. This is all I got. We'll talk. We'll talk NFL as we go forward. Wild card weekend is next weekend,
Yeah.
and playoffs are after that. So it has been a couple weeks since we've been off. My dad moment of the week, and then we'll move into our big announcement for the evening. I am very excited because my 3-year-old has decided that she likes snow. My 5-year-old will have nothing to do with it. She won't go outside. She doesn't really. She went outside. She was outside for a little bit, 10 or 15 minutes or so. But my 3-year-old, even after her big brother dumped snow down her shirt or down her coat, decided to go back out yesterday. We got to go walk around for a little bit and just kind of. We have a field that's not too far away from us, so she wanted to go down and look at that. And there was snow in it. She just couldn't believe it. So we got 6 or 7 inches a couple weeks ago. And then another 5 inches last week, so we've got quite a bit of snow around, just enough that it's good for a 3-year-old to walk around. So I absolutely love the snow. I love being out in it. I even love shoveling, or not shovel. I'm sorry, I don't love shoveling. I love using my snowblower. Let's be real. And so I'm excited to have another kid who enjoys the snow. So that is my dad moment of the week. Brent.
Yeah, like I said, I really unplugged over the break, and so had lots of good moments. Took my oldest boy to see the Star Wars flick, and that was a lot of fun for me, just because I always enjoyed some of the older ones, and so just he's now seen some of those, and he's putting the pieces together of that whole series, and so it was fun to kind of where he's at an age where I feel comfortable taking him to a movie like that now. And the other ones were jealous and all that good stuff. But we've been kind of working on this development of me doing certain things with them individually, as well as always just as a group. And as you know, I have 5, so it's a little tricky to get out of the house with just one to do stuff. But so anyway, so I got to do that, and just really enjoyed, popcorn and pop with him, and some time away together as just the two of us. So I'm gonna go with that as my dad moment of the week.
Nice.
My dad moment of the week is just a full couple of weeks. It was nice being home with the girls and with Aaron, and we don't always, when you get into the day-to-day kind of life and school and work, you don't take the time to do things often enough, at least for us, like playing games and just hanging out. And so being able to do that in the middle of the day some days was nice. Or being able to go to a movie in the middle of the day. I took the girls to see Star Wars. Gracie and I saw it once, and then we went back with Claire and saw it again. So I it's one of those things that I love about break. So while we still have that, and we're still in the classroom or in schools, is that couple of weeks off is really a nice thing. And I would say this is probably the one break in a long time where I literally did no work. I don't think. I think I just put it completely off until today. And we still had practice. I still had practice every day at 8 in the morning. But I was done at 10:15, and we just kind of had the day to hang out. So, I think that's one of those things, and we have to be better. I know about making time for those things, even as the day-to-day grind gets going, and not losing the time to do the games and the puzzles and the hanging out and the watching TV and whatever it is that we're doing together. Because I think that gets lost when you get home at 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and you got homework to do, and you have showers to take, and all that stuff kind of takes precedence. So it was nice just to hang out for a couple weeks.
I will point out Bill added to the Dads and Ed hashtag taking his son to the indoor shooting range over break, which is a great, and bonus points for superfan Bill for knowing that the Chiefs and Royals have never made it to the playoffs together. So.
Right. Right.
All right. So the big announcement for the week. We were hoping to have Chris Nessie on, and he may join us here in a little bit. We had Chris on in late November, early December, and had a conversation with him. Had a great chat with him about podcasting and what he does, and we got asked to join his Edu Podcast Network, which I shouldn't say his. He's kind of the organizer of all of it, but there are quite a few different podcasts on there. Techlandia, we had John Samuelson on last year as part of Techlandia. John's on a couple different podcasts along here. Jeff Bradbury, who's been on the show, has a couple podcasts on the Edu Podcast Network. House of Ed Tech, which Chris does, principally speaking. So we are very honored and excited to be a part of that Edu Podcast Network. You may ask what it means for us, because that's what we asked too, and it doesn't really mean anything. That may disappoint you, that we're not going to get any better by being on the Edu Podcast Network, but Chris assured us that we didn't have to actually make improvements or anything. He would take us as we are, kind of like our wives, and deal with it. And we are super excited to have Chris joining us. Chris, thanks so much for taking time out of your evening to hop in and say hi.
Dads and Ed, what's up, gentlemen?
Not much. Welcome back.
Do I join the short list of people to come back?
You are the only person who has actually come back, and I don't know.
And I wanted to.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Like we've invited people back and they've said no. That hasn't happened. Not like we've invited guests back and they're like, no chance. I do have to say we did have one repeat guest. Remember our very first guest?
Well, it's not a repeat if he doesn't show up.
He couldn't figure out the technology. Bob was having a hard time walking around San Francisco trying to be on our show. So yeah, first actual.
We learned after. Yeah, we learned after show one that it's better if the person is seated, preferably on an internet connection in their hometown. But Chris, we were just talking about the Edgy Podcast Network. We are very excited to be on it, and just wanted to have you on to say thanks and I don't know, just thanks for asking.
Thanks for saying yes, because you guys, as I told you when I was here, before I was on your show, and when I was on the first time, you guys, it's a great concept. It hits so many good things in education. It's very niche. Is that the right way to say that? Very niche.
Sure.
And I think the content is super valuable.
Well, that's great. Do you want to maybe talk for a minute or two? I think we chatted about it a little bit last time you were on, but just what this podcast network is and how it got started and what kinds of things you're hoping to do.
Sure. Well, the network is very simple. It's not like a traditional network, and I'm not going to get too jargony. It's more like a community of like-minded podcasters. You know, it's podcasts for educators, and it's all podcasts that are created by people who have something to do with education. You know, whether it's myself or Jeff Bradbury, who I know has been on your show, Angela Watson, Truth for Teachers. They're great people creating great podcasts that, they're creating stuff that's longer format that doesn't fit the BAM radio network model of, literally get on your phone and we're going to call it a podcast for 15 minutes. I'm in love with the art form, and that's what I've built this around. So these are people like yourselves who are, not only do you create good content, but you put time, effort, and care into what you're creating.
Yep, and we're, like I said, very excited about it. We've got a couple changes that we're going to make. We have a new logo, which we're going to be debuting here either tonight or tomorrow. Chris has done some designing for us, and the old logo was one that we kind of threw together the week before we started, and we never changed it. It's actually a picture of a whiteboard and some text I threw on top of it on my old Mac. So it was kind of time for that. You can still find us at dadsanded.podbean.com. You can subscribe through iTunes. You can now find us on edupodcastnetwork.com as well. I did tweet out an article that Chris had put up there just a little bit ago from the Dads and Ed account. So we're looking forward to it. We, like I said, appreciate the invite and are happy to be on the network.
And people who are listening live right now, if you head over to edupodcastnetwork.com and click on our shows, you can get a preview of the new artwork.
That's right. It is.
Yep.
I don't mess.
No, you're way ahead of us. I was kind of saving that. I'm gonna either tonight or tomorrow, depending on what time we wrap up here, get everything switched over and add the Edu Podcast Network banner. And for the first time in 3 years, we will have a new opening. I need to get my 3-year-old into our opening, so we'll be updating that. I'm not sure if it's going to make this podcast, but by the next one, we'll have the new opening with the Edu Podcast Network piece in there. So
get the kid out of bed and get her in the studio. Let's go.
I know. You know what happened is I forgot my snowball mic at work over break. So I'm like, oh, that's fine. I'll get it, when I get back. And by the time I had to run to dance and start putting a basketball hoop together tonight, it just didn't happen. So we'll have it ready for next week.
What'd you do in dance class tonight?
We're getting ready to do a show for Somewhere Over the Rainbow by the Hawaiian guy. I don't remember what his name is, but that's what we're dancing to.
Hey, this one's for Gabby.
Oh, yeah, full disclosure, I don't have anything to do with dance. I was just I had to take it there.
Uh-huh.
Well played.
Right.
Well played.
Chris, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it, and we look forward to being the newest member of the Edu Podcast Network.
Very excited. Thanks for having me on, and looking forward to a long, positive relationship, gentlemen.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, we are going to switch over. I'm pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited. We're a little refreshed. We're cleaning up our act a little bit. Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, we have a couple fancy new graphics, but don't worry.
You
For
know,
better or worse, it's the same old content.
hey, we've said all along if it was just the three of us and no one else listened, we were cool with that. And what's been fun is, Josh, you mentioned earlier as you were mapping out the guests coming up that I noticed we're up to 50 here by April, and that's pretty crazy to think that we'll have, by April recorded 50 shows, and it's pretty awesome. And when I get reflective on this, and I look back at all the different guests we've had and that I've learned from, and have had a chance to kind of meet, going back to the Joe Bauer thing, it's been kind of fun for, maybe it was Devin's connection, maybe it was yours, Josh, maybe it was mine, but no matter who, that's not really what's relevant, more so than just we met these people kind of visual, at least on here on Google Hangout, and had a chance to visit with them. And so I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think being part of that network is great because, hey, maybe some more people might listen now because it's just going to be exposed to some more people. And I know I've enjoyed some of those podcasts myself, and we've talked a lot about podcasting as a whole and could it fit into PD somehow. And I do think it has a niche for some people, whether they're running, walking, mowing the lawn, vacuuming around the house, like whatever the case might be. But there's definitely some value in just the listening aspect of learning. So I think it's a great move for us. So I'm excited to see what the next 50 brings.
Yeah, and I think last night was maybe the first time I ever kind of listed all the shows as I was trying to figure out like who we've had on, and it really is an impressive list in terms of just all the really great people that we've been able to talk to. And when you start looking down that list of, I think I got all the way up to 50 also as I kind of mapped out our next few. To have 50 unique guests, I mean, not having anybody on twice, having somebody almost every show. We've had a couple in there where we didn't, kind of like tonight. But having really about 48 of those 50 shows, having somebody different on with a unique perspective. Some of them who we've met before, and some of them with whom we haven't, or that we haven't met before. It really was kind of amazing. I'm with you, Brent. I was thinking about that last night as I was listening them out on our document. Like, holy cow, we've had a lot of great people on here.
Well, and I think, you bring up a great point. It's not that we haven't wanted to get new people or have people back, and we've talked off air about a number of people that we would like to have back a second time, but there are just so many fantastic people out there that we haven't had time yet, which is a great thing. And we're lucky that a lot of them, are willing to come on. And I always go back to Greg Doyle. We had Greg Doyle on the first year of our show.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. He wanted to do a practice run, and I'm like, it's like the middle of the afternoon on a Monday, and I'm hanging out with Greg Doyle. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What is this?
Right.
It has been. It is like Brent said. It's it could just be the three of us, and we'd be perfectly fine. But it's very cool to see other people excited about it and have other people tune in. So.
Yep. Totally agree.
All right. Next up, our app side of the week. I am going to go total self-promotion because that's what I'm all about. Welcome to the Edu Podcast Network. So I got a new Apple TV for Christmas, and what I was really excited about is that if you haven't seen, the new Apple TV has tvOS, the TV operating system from Apple, just like they have iOS and just a regular OS, which introduced games a la Xbox and Wii and what have you. And so that we don't have an Xbox, we don't have a Wii, we don't have any of that stuff. So this was kind of just like us dipping our toe into it, where we could get a new Apple TV, and then the gaming system kind of comes with it. It's cheaper than buying any of the gaming systems. It doesn't have nearly the games, obviously,
Mhm.
but it's kind of dipping our toe into it. So I am going to share out. If you've seen the shows over the years, I love Flipboard magazines, and so as I was looking for all these resources on new apps or games that are coming out for tvOS, I decided to put them all into a Flipboard magazine. So I'm going to share that out um, on the Dads and Ed Twitter account. Brent, you're up next.
Yes, I believe I have a Twitter follow, and I am going to go with, I'm going to tweet here to the Dads and Ed hashtag. Her Twitter handle is TISH and then RICH, like Tish and Rich. Her name is Tisha Richmond, so it's short. Her first name and short her last name there, Tish Rich, which is a little tricky to say. But Tisha is out of Oregon. I met her at Miami Device. She's a culinary arts teacher and career and technical education department chair. And she is just awesome. She brings technology into the classroom, even in her culinary arts class, and she, uses Voxer. I'm in a Miami Device group with her, and it's just been a lot of fun getting to know her through the different channels and Instagram and stuff. I was so jealous of. She put up a couple posts of. She was at her dad's cabin up in the woods with the family for Christmas, and seriously looked like a postcard with the snow and the pine trees, and just thought, man, what a great getaway. But anyway, awesome educator. So I just tweeted her out on the Dads and Ed hashtag. Give her a follow. She's fantastic.
Awesome. Devin, what's coming up?
I'm going to share out. We may have shared it before, but it's getting closer now. Ed Camp Iowa is coming up. The unique thing about Ed Camp Iowa that I like is that it happens all on February 13th, so in a few weeks here. But it happens in 5 locations simultaneously across the state. One of which will be in Council Bluffs here at one of our high schools. So, I know we've talked a lot about Ed Camps on here. I'm sure the next time we're together, he'll probably even tack it on to the end of mine. That Camp Omaha will be coming up. But we do enjoy Ed Camps, and we like Ed Camps around here. And I do like the Iowa one. Again, like I said, the unique thing is that it happens kind of five places all over the state at the same time. So we're looking forward to that. Like I said, February 13th that happens. So anybody in kind of the surrounding states can join an Ed Camp, a location for Ed Camp Iowa. There's a southwest, southeast, northeast, northwest, and central Iowa location. So looking forward to that happening here in about a month.
So Southwest is Council Bluffs, eh? Is that new, Devin? Because in the past, I want to say it was in like somewhere near Council Bluffs, maybe an hour away or so.
Yeah, so they've had the first time it was in a small town called Red Oak for the Southwest Iowa location, and then last year it was in Council Bluffs, and then this year it's in Council Bluffs again. We kind of switched high schools. It was in one of our high schools in our district last year. It'll be in the other high school this year. But yeah, it was the first year in a small town of Red Oak, and didn't get many people there. So I think, I can't remember where the other ones are, but kind of typically try and get the bigger cities in those areas. So
cool. I'm going to St. Louis on the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be 7 days, yeah. So I didn't realize it was the 13th, so maybe I'll make a quick trip back home and crash at my dad's or something and bring a kid or two back to grandma's. Or
there you go.
Yeah, I might have to swing it because, yeah, that would be cool to pop up and see you guys, and I'm assuming you're both going to be there. But anyway, very cool.
I was not going to mention Ed Camp Omaha until it got closer to March 19th. So I was going to let Ed Camp Iowa stand all by itself until you had to bring it up.
I just figured you would. I figured you'd ride the coattails of this, and next month I'm sure you'll have the coming event, and it'll be at Camp Omaha, and then Brett will have it, and it'll be at Camp Omaha, and we'll pimp at Camp Omaha for the next 4 months. But
Great idea.
and then in May we'll start April we'll start promoting at Camp Omaha 2017.
That's a good idea. Well, we have to do.
I'm not being jerk. It's a great event.
I am bummed. I will miss Ed Camp Iowa. We're actually out of town that weekend, so I am. I will unfortunately not be there. I was there last year. Had a great time.
You were.
Did a session on cow tipping. Ironically enough, considering what the Stanford band did, I did a session on cow tipping at Camp Iowa. So, anyway.
Yeah. Cool.
On to the district spotlight. Devin, you're back up.
My district spotlight person this week or this month, whatever. What do we do? Every other week?
Yeah, whatever. We don't know.
My district spotlight person for this week is I'm lucky enough to work with our chief technology officer, or technology director, whatever he's called now, Dave Fringer, who is one of those people I think that sometimes you get tech departments and curriculum departments that don't see eye to eye, don't work together, kind of see themselves as complete separate entities. And Dave does not do that. Dave is a tech director or whatever, chief technology officer who certainly looks at things from a teaching and learning perspective. Was a teacher in the classroom prior to becoming to having this role. He had a couple of roles in between, but I think that's such a big deal. Especially as more and more technology gets in the hands of kids and teachers, having people in those positions who have a teaching and learning background versus a technology background sometimes makes all the difference. Not that there aren't good ones in those positions who don't have that background, but man, I think it makes a big difference. And we're pretty lucky in that we, our curriculum and instruction departments and technology kind of see eye to eye, tend to talk and work things out. So Dave is my follow for tonight.
Nice. I will second that. Dave is a phenomenal guy, and I echo what Devin said there. My district spotlight, I have to give a shout out to LCHS bands. I will give the shout out to first Andy Walters, who is the former band director, now assistant principal at another district. Dan Tucker took over for Andy this year as a band director at Lewis Central for the high school and has taken over the Twitter account. I am giving them a shout out because tomorrow morning Hillary Clinton is going to be at a local community college, and our band gets to go play during her rally. So kudos to them. Obviously, what Andy built, Dan is carrying on. They're just fantastic. Great shows. Do a great job both marching and concerts. So they don't tweet a lot, but definitely I told him today, so I was supposed to meet with him tomorrow morning, and I got bumped because of one of Clinton's staffers was swinging by to say hi. And so I said, that's fine, but you better tweet out some pictures of you guys there. So LCHS bands gets my district spotlight for the week. Brent.
Yes, I'm going to go with principal from my district, Jeff Williams. He's the principal of our sixth grade building. We have just a separate building just for sixth grade for all the kids in the district. And his Twitter handle is JBMS, which stands for James Bridger Middle School, and Herd, because they're the Buffalo. So it's JBMS Herd all together. And I'll tweet that into the Dads and Ed hashtag. But Jeff is just outstanding, tech-minded guy, doing great things. He was an elementary principal in the district and moved to the middle school, the sixth grade building, and doing fantastic work. And he's helping the district with our website and the organization of our schools sites individually. Just enjoy working with him and think he does great work. So I want to shout him out tonight for my shout out.
Nice. Well done. All right, gentlemen. Well, that wraps up show number 1 on the Edu Podcast Network, and also show number 1 for 2016. This was going to be a short show, but we had a lot to talk about tonight. So
We did.
All good stuff, though. We are back on January 18th, 2 weeks from tonight, with Patrick Larkin, who's Assistant Superintendent in Burlington, Massachusetts. Very excited to have him on. This is someone that I've actually gotten to know and got to meet face to face prior to having them on. Like we said, it's kind of depends on the week. Some of us have met him, some of us hadn't. This is one that I've gotten to know, and he's going to be fantastic. So I am looking forward to that, along with all the rest of them for this spring. So until 2 weeks from tonight, have a great couple weeks.